Pop, 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 pop.
Oh, you're back in your hot box.
My hot box.
Old box, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, that's reasonable.
Oh, we have improved a lot just because you're back out of the horse trailer. I mean, I can't use these anymore.
Yes, I'm back in the warm today. Anyway, heated,
not sitting on a heating
well
pad.
lit, good internet, right next to my head.
A lot of good.
Yeah, it's a lot of good. Pot of coffee that I can make without waking up the fam. All the perks.
Were you having no coffee the last time, like in the trailer? Oh my god!
Coffee-free experience.
Oh no, I wouldn't have made it. I'm barely awake when we start talking in the afternoon, I think.
Yeah, I wonder what it's done to me, like having all these conversations at 6 o'clock in the morning.
You
Probably
sound more
good for
alive.
my brain.
You sound less sick.
Yeah, feeling heaps better. I've been at work this week. Back at work. I've been in here most days this week, which has been nice. Mainly just here for the table tennis, but, getting some work done as well.
It's a good joke there somewhere. I'm here for the table tennis?
Ding dong. I'm here for the table tennis.
Yeah.
You had some project for, I think, one of your repeat customers where it said something about digitally printed. Did you put graphics on top of it that were printed?
It's a big sheet of birch plywood, and we've got a printing place that has a huge inkjet printer, and they're happy to print on whatever substrate. So we give them plywood and they direct inkjet.
That's cool.
It's pretty cool. And it's like a UV stable signage grade sort of printing process. So
right. Maybe a couple of those here too. I never think about that.
Yeah. It's actually a really good way to put down color. And the reason I'm 24 hours late is because we had dramas with this same job. We had dramas with this big table we were doing that was being painted like a burgundy red to go into that same office as the ping pong table. And the spraying and coloring of this table, the top particularly, because it was such a big surface area, just kicked our butt. I was talking to the client last night as well, loading up his van, and we're like, we should have just digitally printed the table, like the main tabletop as well, like as a way of getting the correct Pantone color, because we'd already been through a whole lot of trouble just like trying to color match this particular laminate color. I think he'd driven to the paint shop about 4 or 5 times to get it resampled and recolored and retinted. Could have just printed the whole thing. Anyway, lesson learned.
I forget which of your routers, does it have an imaging system to have registration then, if you want to cut it afterwards?
Trinity does, yeah.
That's cool.
I've never used it.
It's hard. I was going to say, that sounds like it just endless problems. Like another vendor prints something and then you try to cut it. Like this is not things we can do normally.
I forget that. Trinity does have a camera system. So I think if you use like the OnRoute, which is like the basic 2D machining software that we haven't used since we switched all our camp to Fusion, I think if you have to use that, and you have to print like specific looking registration marks in, so the camera can go like, oh yeah, that's my point, and then in theory, it will take like the warp or distortion out of a print and course correct its still path and stuff like that. Kind of cool, but don't really have a use for it.
Right. Huh? Cool.
That's what you get for buying an overspec'd second-hand machine, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, the clear coating drama yesterday just kind of, it was fine, but like I thought I'd learnt this lesson on the last batch of those tables we did, where we're using a non-standard clear coating products. And then we did it again on this one with the same product. It just ended up in a situation where the color had been matched in this clear, which was, the product was fine, but it's not what we're used to, and it dries a lot slower. So they're trying to sort of rush a job out with multiple coats in a slow drying product. We had like every heater in the building, in the office, all plugged in, turned on, trying to bake this tabletop. A bit chaotic, like the old days. But yeah, done now. Picked up off the site today. But it kind of made me think about like
how 3 o'clock this afternoon with nail polish.
It made me think about like how much of a process, like a whole nother like field and expertise that like clear coating and spray painting is.
Oh yeah.
Like we happen to have a spray booth. That doesn't mean we're professional painters.
We don't even try. Yeah. Every time we start to like even remotely consider some of that stuff, we're like A, space, B, we have nobody that has that skill set. That's a lot of expensive equipment. And I've told the story too many times, I think you probably remember, but when I first got my first shop, the reason I was getting that space was another business had $30,000 worth of fines from the city because they didn't register their spray booth.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I don't know what that all entailed. I just remember walking around the space and I saw this letter from the city on the front that said, "You owe."
Far out. So, is this hot yoga?
I'll just skip that for a while.
After hot yoga?
No, after how I had a weird open air shop that I shared with the gentleman. Yeah.
Meow. How's your week?
What's happening? Your own space. Good. I've been playing with your sim theory a little bit. I did do the year subscription after just extensive pressuring from you. I tried it out and I hope there's some I don't dislike it. I like that I can change stuff. There's just weird little nuances of it that are annoying to me. Like I want to open it up every time and have a new thread. Can't do that somehow. Doesn't really, there's no preferences yet.
Yes.
You can't change any preferences. So I'm assuming some of these things are coming.
Yep.
Or they wouldn't have taken a year of my money. The other thing that is nice that's like, it's just, it's shine. There's shine from ChatGPT that's still, like, when I want to search the internet, I don't have to say, I don't have to click anything specific. It's just kind of happens whenever I want it to do that. Or like, hey, can you do research for me on this thing? And like, Sim Theory's like, I can't do that. And I'm like, oh, I forgot I have to click plus search the internet. It's stuff that I was just used to, but like, man, having access to multiple models like that is super cool.
Yeah, I think I'm sure those features are coming. I guess because it is a bit of a sandpit that they've made. I have similar experience, similar feedback, I suppose. Like I do find myself on occasion still jumping to the ChatGPT desktop app because I'm like, I just want to smash something out. I trust its output. And it's more familiar or something. So I jump to that familiarity at times.
$1 billion of developers, somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But yeah, cool. I'm glad you joined the bandwagon. Did you?
I haven't done
cancel your
too
page?
Many of the image generation, but it's. I tried a couple, and I think I'm out of practice in a weird way. Like I made a couple things, and it wasn't quite. It was good. There was nothing really wrong with it. I just wasn't interested in spending the time when I tried it. So it's cool to just have it right there. I'm assuming we'll get to more of a intuitive request through just chat instead of having to like, hey, make me an image and then choose the model and like.
Yeah, I think even since we last chatted, they've plugged in a new image gen model ideogram, which does
I think you said
does text really well and can kind of do more graphic designy sort of output, which is pretty cool. I've had a bit of a play with that and made some pretty silly things. But again, it's still, all of this stuff really in terms of image gen is still in a sort of toy state in my mind. Like it's cool to play with, cool to see where it's headed, but would I actually use it for, a serious output? Yeah.
I'm sure I've seen a lot more of it than I care to I don't know. I don't really take a lot of time thinking about it, but I got an Instagram ad for the tool maker Grizzly. Do you guys have that?
Yeah,
It's like
I know it. Yeah.
Cheapish.
Yeah.
And I got an ad for one of their sales, and there was a grizzly bear riding a forklift in the ad, and like they had some text around it. It was a vertical Instagram ad. And I had to do a double take and go back. The bear was poking through the front of the forklift like roll cage. His body was going through it. And I was like, AI, I found it.
Yeah, I feel like I've probably seen a lot of stuff too that's just kind of slipped through my eyeballs and like, haven't necessarily registered, but
right,
it'll be out there. More and more of it being used. It will become more normal, I suppose, too.
Yeah. Right. I was chatting with a support person today and I was like, this feels like AI. And then it wrote so poorly that I was like, actually, AI has better grammar than this. Like, never mind. I picked up after one of my action items of being so frustrated about having a poor performance of making those parts was we had I think it's from the 80s, Jet 4x6 bandsaw that was very much like somebody's hobby garage shop item. So they were pretty high quality for like even a low end machine. I think we just used it too much, or it was just never quite right for like, I think they're meant to cut a few things, but not like 100 pieces in a row of even aluminum. And so we just kept breaking blades, and like Ricky or I could not. He went through the whole manual and tried to tune it every which way he can. We'd break a blade every time we used it, basically. And so the last project we had to, it's like I would take these, it was like little 1.5 square pieces of aluminum, and we'd cut it off to put it in the vise. And we had to stand them up like this to cut it, like vertical on end. And the cut was so bad and non-square that we would have to put it in the vise, face off the end as an op zero, so that it would sit flush.
Right. Wow.
And that was one of the last. Also, like, this is dumb. I'm paying for a blade every time I use it, and I'm taking more time to make parts. So we bought a 7x12, also a Jet, but so I haven't quite used it. We're about to. We just had another big job come in, so we shall see. It's a lot nicer of a machine.
Do you mean like those is it like a horizontal metal cutting bandsaw?
Yep.
That's okay. Cool.
In there.
Yeah.
These saws can be $30,000, if you have like automated stuff, but we just needed something that cut more square. I think maybe more of these do this now, but this also has an option to lock it vertical, and then you can put a table on, so you can basically metal like vertical bandsaw too, which is kind of cool. You need to like cut a bigger sheet or like cut a pocket out of something for, I don't know. I've needed this a few times. So when I saw that this was an option, I was like, yeah, that's a good deal.
That's cool. I don't actually know what it's called. It's not a bandsaw. It's a reciprocating action. So it's kind of a bandsaw in like, no, not a bandsaw. It's kind of like it's a hacksaw. But it's this huge cast iron, very heavy piece of kit, 3-phase, and you crank up the huge, like you pull it up manually, but then it self feeds through the stock, so you can just turn it on, walk away, and like you could cut through like huge pieces of billet. In theory, it's got coolant and stuff. I've never known what to do with it, but I'll send it to you.
I'm gonna take that transcription and put it into GPT to have it make an image of what you described, because it sounds absolutely wild. Like, it sounds like one of those Power Stroke, I don't know what they're called, but like, oh my goodness, what's his name? One of the famous machinist influencer dudes who does machining. He has one of these. It's like a stroking arm, and it like chunks away metal, kind of like as if you were chiseling metal. That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah. What are they called?
Power Stroker.
Power Stroker. This summer, Justin's Power Stroker. No, God, what are they called? I've watched enough these old Tony videos. I should know what they're called. I've gone blank. Mine is just
Can't wait
a
to hear
power
the
hack.
screaming at the podcast.
I know. Shh, it's a things and stuff. Can't remember. I'm sorry, Tony.
Do you use
Sorry,
it?
I failed you. Do I use it? No, I've got nothing to do with it. I just sent you a picture of kind of what it looks like.
Holy moly. It's very accurate. It looks like if you took a hacksaw and put a lot of cast iron around it
Pretty
with
much.
with a vise.
Yeah.
It's cool.
But the hacksaw
Dork.
blade's probably 2 inches thick and not tall.
Yeah. It's huge.
Huge. Random thing.
So it does like a whole like kind of like a cycling motion.
Yeah.
I gotta see. I need a video now. You're gonna go
Okay.
viral with this thing. Nobody's ever heard of one.
It's just a power hacksaw, apparently, but an old one.
I'm gonna look this up. It was made for people that don't use electricity. Anyway, that one interesting thing about this saw, which I've been chatting with other Instamachinist people, it has the option for coolant, and I am like, that's both really great. It's like, oh, I understand coolant definitely helps in a lot of cases. It might alleviate all of our blade breaking, but also I'm like, coolant sounds like a nightmare on a bandsaw format. Like, I know it's not going to go everywhere necessarily, but like, it's kind of hard to maintain coolant and keep it at the right levels, and like, and the filtering system is just like a really poor mesh piece of metal that goes over the top of the coolant bin, and I'm like, that's gonna go. We're just gonna be half full of metal in like a month. Like, this doesn't seem like a good idea.
I've got just a metal cutting cold saw too, which is a fantastic tool. It cuts really straight and true, slow, very slow. Like, it's a circular blade, but with coolant, but it's very slow moving and does a nice square, straight, cool cut.
Dang.
These are things you collect when you have a metal fabrication business that morphs into
Right.
a plywood business.
Yeah. Just light some wood on fire. Try it out.
I think I had a dream about welding, actually. Welding dreams.
It is funny to watch the other side. Like, you were looking closer at your computer and you just kind of went,
Did it?
is it really
Ooh.
turning real close? And it's like, what?
Ooh.
What's wrong?
Chem doesn't have his glasses on. It's peering.
Yeah. Right,
Peering
same.
into the computer. Oh, what a mess. I don't even know where my notes are this week. They are some here.
I copied some over. You had some I don't think we covered. You had where to after Instagram.
Ah, yes.
I don't know if that's still
wanna
relevant or
talk
that was
about
like a
No.
fever comment.
Fever state. No, that is an ongoing thought. I mean, it's a fairly self-evident comment, but like, I've been, a little bit over Instagram for a while. That's okay. I've been doing it because I feel like I should. And
Right.
also at some level, I have a sort of addiction to the process and make feel nice of the process. But no, I just sort of like, I think it was that Jack Conti video
Oh, yeah.
Patreon that got me thinking about this in terms of what the future of the internet and the future of the fan or the follow. Like, he talks about that of like,
Yep.
If I want to follow PDX, where do I do that? Where do I see PDX content? Where do I go to see that and follow your work or whatever? And, despite him being the CEO of Patreon, he makes a pretty good, genuine argument for the sort of the Patreon model potentially being the sort of future of that, where you go to see the people you want to see and follow them. Whoa. What's going on there? Justin's just having a little seance in the background. Anyway, it's just, it got me thinking of like, is there a model for Patreon or something like that for Like Butter? What would we do if we were on a platform like that? Who would come with us? What sort of content would we produce there? What would be the benefit? And like, I feel like you've dabbled in this space more. Like, you set up the Patreon for this, something that would have never occurred to me to even do. I don't know. Thoughts?
Yeah, I guess I've kind of like stifled some of that, but that was a really, my friend Kyle, maybe you too, I forget. I know Kyle told me about it, and I kind of put it off for a couple of weeks, and it's like, all right, I need something to watch. And it was pretty influential. I feel like it had a lot. It summarized and formalized a lot of my like thinkings about these things too, where my long-term plan has been, you can't trust a platform of any type. Like there's nothing stable. Yeah. And the closest to that I know of is email. And it's also has enormous flaws because it's super reliant on like what is spam and does somebody see it? Like, it's also hidden in a really strong way where like I think it's just, it was influential, and email seems like the closest thing to that, but it's also super flawed in that you have to rely on whether or not something goes to spam or somebody's like, I always think about like this passing, same with advertising. I think of this situation where I want to send something out and the other side maybe wants to see it, but like they're busy or it's overnight and their email just buries it and they never see the email, potentially. Or the ad doesn't get shown to the right person at the right time. So you're always in this like passing, like a meet cute situation with your customer or the person that wants to follow. And even like YouTube, like if you turn on the bell for every publish, that also is not always the case. There's an algorithm that says whether or not it actually gets shown to you or not. It says that when you turn it on, it's like, it's per YouTube. It's not like every upload that somebody wants to get from you or they're going to get. So I don't have an answer. I mean, maybe a Patreon-like thing, but also that doesn't feel solved either. Like they have some pretty poor systems that we've experienced, right? With just the notification system comes from email usually, and
it's pretty.
You have to like go and look for it. So
I was in the phone app last night, just poking around with a personal account, just trying to see what it looked like and how you follow people, and then what it looks like to see their content. It's all compared to the slick, highly developed experience of an app like Instagram. It all still feels a little bit homebrewed, which is kind of cool. I don't mind that, but it's, I suppose when you're used to like the extreme dopamine hit of TikTok or Instagram or something, it's like, okay. Nice try.
When you said homebrewed, I had this like imagination of like, all right, here's an app that it's like kind of steampunk, where it uses the motion sensors, and like when you want to send something to somebody, you have to like physically like shake it a lot, and like the harder you shake it, the further it goes. Like you're eventually getting it sent to the person, but you have to like make effort, and it's like an anti-spam feature where like you physically have to do something for it to send.
Yeah.
Let's not do that.
No. You mentioned YouTube, and I feel like that was the kind of the other direction that my mind went. It's like, Patreon or YouTube has been such a, in my mind, such a stable platform for so long. And I I spend a lot of time there. I watch quite a lot of content on YouTube, probably more than any other platform. And, maybe that's where Butter goes, but it's a different experience. It's a less interactive experience, I feel. Yeah, I don't know. It's just something I wanted to ponder. That's something I have been pondering and wanted to sort of bring up, but no answers. Just, thoughts?
I mean, it does feel like it's unfortunately going to be another new fad platform, even if one is intended for, like, say, Patreon or Jack Conte makes another thing because he's aware of this and he's intending for it to be this like altruistic app where you can connect the right people, the person creating the content and then the person that wants it. It doesn't ever seem like you or I are going to have the option to create or own the thing that connects that, connects the two.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'd say I think there's a lot of people, I bet we have the same feeling of like, there's just like immense fatigue of probably both sides. Like I know as a consumer of things, it's the fatigue of, all this content's stupid and I don't want to see these other people. I want to see my friends. I want to see what they're doing. It's been 20 years now of some kind of social media, and it's like, I don't know, I'm just kind of over it in a weird way. Like it's not what it was, boring. But also making it is just, I've even though I know it's what I need to be doing, I don't do it. I haven't posted in days,
Yeah, I realized 2005. Next year it'll be 20 years since I started posting photos to LiveJournal. I think that was probably the start of my sort of social media existence. Flickr, LiveJournal.
Flickr, man. Yeah, that was really for me.
Yeah. It's a long time.
There's been attempts at these kind of like in the moment type apps that connect people. I mean, what one was Be Real, and then the thing that I don't even remember the name of it anymore. The thing that Casey Neistat tried to make, whatever the heck that was. I don't even remember. It was honestly, I thought it was a pretty bad app.
Don't remember it.
Beam, BEME.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my only other attempt at this, which I would say is both successful and unsuccessful, was to move to our little community platform. And there was two reasons for it. Was primarily I wanted a different place to put our courses. What we were on before was overly expensive for what it was, and enormous limitations for what we wanted to be using it for. And it wasn't like the best experience. So that was the big move intention. And then the bonus was a new thing called Circle, or what we call Nest, the Nest, because we had to give it some kind of name. Put a link to it if you haven't ever seen it. Is just basically like a threaded discussion platform, maybe like a new version of a forum. And I always knew it was going to take a lot of driving from our end, and that was around the time I was like, oh, we have this new operations specialist person, and they had some experience with community monitoring or administration, and so they were supposed to be kind of helping drive some of that interaction, because who's going to come to any company's website forum thing and like get a lot out? Like nobody does that. So I was aware that was the case, and I figured it was largely going to be our customers of like mostly training things that would be engaging in that place. And we've had a few. It's just, it was always kind of a hopeful thing. But that's maybe if I was a giant internet influencer, maybe that would be a thing that would be popular. But
yeah, it's tricky, man. I mean, I think there's a lot to be said for, even though you're doing paid classes, that is a form of community too, like physically having people in your space.
Yeah,
I know it's like micro in the scheme of like audiences and the internet, but like there's a lot to be said, I think, for just real people in a room together, if you can.
Yeah, that's good. I like how we both have basically gray hair in this.
The image, I just made a parts department magazine cover.
Oh my god, the one that's all coming out of our mouth. These are good. I might have to post these, so we'll post them on Instagram. If you don't follow our Instagram, there's extra show things there.
It's really good. It's got no issues ripping off a Carhartt logo. No issues.
No kidding. One of my thoughts lately is I'm kind of rethinking some of our own things and trying to find what's ideal. And I'm curious, both you as well as people listening, that if you've made some type of, I don't know a better name for this, project management, business management, but ERP, if you either use something or you've made something, like what is missing or broken or undesirable about yours? Like what doesn't work well, or mostly what doesn't work well, I think.
Yeah, big question, because what we've built in Airtable is big and unwieldy, and we've made it that way. It's all it's all our own doing. Like, I suppose I could have things about Airtable that I would like to work differently, but Airtable's such like a broad system. It's the platform, not what we've built. So I have had a few like fever dreams recently of like, oh, I wish our ERP, for want of a better word, mission control, our main base in Airtable. I was like, I wish it could be a bit smarter in terms of looking at due dates and job value and whether they're delivery or pickup or courier, and just like, you know, doing a draft schedule for me. Be a bit more proactive. Yeah. Of like, cool. You know, why don't you combine these two deliveries in the same day? Because I can see that their addresses are in the same city and the same suburb and blah, blah, stuff that I'm kind of manually doing at the moment, manually flagging with the team of like, cool, those two jobs, let's finish them in the same week so that we can deliver them on the same day, blah, 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 blah. It's kind of like all the data's there.
Yeah.
You know,
there's just no intelligence to it usually.
Yeah. And, you know, Airtable keeps sending me emails about how they're baking in AI, but they sent me this, you might have tried it, like an email about like an AI interface builder or view builder or something. And it's, to be fair, I've only tried it once, but it just seems like a lot of this baked in generative AI stuff where it's still super gimmicky.
Right.
And yeah, the intelligence, it doesn't seem to be there. Like I don't want just a wizard. Like it's a clippy wizard for making a new view. It's not really looking at my data and going, cool, I'm going to help you manage this.
The only time I thought there was a minor amount of usability to the AI things that Airtable has tried. It's basically, it's like add a field to this record that can generate something from other fields, and it's like a creative writing tool basically. And it's like, that is not what I need in Airtable. Maybe even if you were like a marketer, I doubt you would want to use any of it. It would just be silly. For like a month, we had like some demo trial thing where the parts department Airtable, I created it would make a podcast summary out of our show notes. And I think we maybe used like 2 of them without significant modifications. And then it just broke and they stopped letting us use it. It's like, all right, that was stupid anyway. So we don't, their efforts so far have been really shoddy, in my opinion. They just aren't good with AI things.
Yeah, I haven't really seen any of those SaaS platforms do anything noteworthy, I don't think. I feel like there's so much potential, like in Xero too, like so much potential for Xero to help in a really genuine way. I'm sure it's coming, but it doesn't feel like it's there yet. Anyway, long story short, that's something that I feel lacking in Airtable and our ERP is a bit of like, there's so much data there, so much historical data as well in terms of every job we've done since we've been running that.
Yeah.
Sitting there in the complete archive, you know, there'd be a lot of interesting stuff that could be done with that. But yeah.
I think my biggest desire is coherence to all of it. You know, it's now 7 years into using Airtable for our Portland CNC things. And I guess the benefit is that it has grown in the ways we've, I guess, needed to some degree. But also, there's a huge kind of vast new world. Like, one thing is AI, but the UI, just the way you use it is just really the best way. If you've never used it, it feels like you're using kind of advanced Excel sheets.
Yeah.
Where when you could open up one row, it would turn into like a pop-up window with a different view, and it turns it into like a portrait page of all that information that's in the Excel row. And that's kind of the limit, really. Like there's not a whole lot more to it than that. You can make different views. You can do the interface thing like Jem's done, and that does provide some more power. But overall, you're stuck with one Excel sheet of information and they don't relate to each other very well. It's very minimally, so you can take like Excel sheet A and B, which are called bases in Airtable parlance. And we have like a dozen of these because the way I built them was like, all right, well, inventory is one, RFQs are another, parts department's one, products are another. And I think you probably did it in a smarter way. You made each different sheets or tables inside one base. And for a while, actually, there was limitations. And that was my concern was we were going to go up against the limitations to what you could fit in one base. But now we've got the situation where it's like kind of unmanageable it would take weeks I'd probably start from scratch if I was going to do it again. But I won't. I'm not going to use this again if we win again. So,
but I would.
The coherence is pretty rough, where it takes an enormous amount of tribal knowledge to find the right thing and where to find it, and search doesn't go across bases, and so yeah, I don't think I would recommend that at the moment. But just kind of looking for what we might someday move into or change to.
Yeah, cool. I mean, it's been a reoccurring topic for us. Hey, it's been a fun
seems
one.
Important to me.
Yeah, and we've both done a lot in terms of the homebrew ERP building stuff. It's something I've always been interested in pretty much as long as we've been running a business. So I've built my own simple thing, whether it was a Google Sheet or a workflowy encyclopedia. I've always had something sort of cooking. So I've always been very curious about this stuff. But I'm also really curious about, peers, friends and peers who have similar businesses who have gone off and dropped 30 grand on an off-the-shelf ERP. Like, I should touch base.
Right. What is that like?
Yeah. How's that going? Last time I spoke to my friend who runs a cabinet making shop with maybe 10 staff, he was in the middle of that transition, and it was, huge amount of time in his part, sort of getting it all set up, and obviously a big capital expense in terms of getting it set up. But I'd be super curious checking in now, 6 months later, how that's gone. Yeah. Whether
it feels, that's never seemed feasible for me, and I'm sure there's a lot of companies that can, but in America, I think there's the vast majority are companies under 20 people that do some type of thing like we do. And I can't imagine a lot of them are dropping $10,000+ on a system. And yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. So that, I'd love to hear the experience, but also like, it's not applicable, to me. Not that I'm trying to be selfish about it, but
if I think about how much I've probably spent on wages in terms of staff that I've had actively developing Airtable and working on it, it'd be and I did maybe not 6 figures, but like well and truly a 5-figure number.
Yeah. Well, if I build my own time like that, for sure, but I'm pretty much the only one that messes with it. I think you wrote this thing down. I don't remember writing this down. Humanoid bots cheaper than cobots. So
I've done zero research on this, by the way. But
you're replacing your staff.
It occurred to me that humanoid robots with large language models built into their little brains seem to be hitting the market. And I get the sense that they're going to hit the market at a lower price point than like a UR cobot, potentially. And more a question for myself as well as you, but like, would I buy such a thing to keep in the workshop? How would I feel about that? Yes.
Instantly. Give me 14 of them.
Spectacular. Give me 14 of them right now.
One to hold my coffee. But yeah, no, just, I've been attracted to having a UR style robot for a long time. I'd love to have one to play with and deploy in sanding jobs or, processing parts or picking things out of a machine. But if I could get a humanoid bot that can walk itself around the shop and have some decision-making ability to like rationalize a context and make a decision, then that'd be pretty cool. Being able to ask it to go and get something, or like, hey, grab that clamp for me, please. Like, that's not far away.
It comes back with like all the clamps at once.
All the clamps. Like, I feel like that reality is closer than we think.
Yeah. You know, honestly, it's probably better, but all of my imagination was running wild with like, oh, it's going to act like a Roomba. And I posted a photo. This happens all the time. Our little shop Roomba got stuck on the forklift tines.
That's cute.
And it was like an inch off the ground, and it just got high centered, and it tells you like, I found a cliff. And it's like, yes, that 1 inch, buddy. You did that to yourself. I'm just imagining the humanoid robot like constantly like, I found a cliff, and it's like standing like at a loading dock.
Cute, yes. So you get there?
Well, yeah. What's interesting to me, if it had been a $5,000 purchase, I think we'd have some type of cobot, even if we didn't have a great use for it, because I just want that. Like there was some like little industrial technology thing I got to do in middle school in our shop class, and it was literally just was a little robotic arm mounted to the desk that could pick up and move like wooden blocks. And I think about that all the time. Like I think about like I want that experience, but like the work version.
Yeah.
And it is a little crazy to me. Like I don't know how much it costs to make these things, but a real robot to me shouldn't cost 30 to 40 grand. Like that's like a $5,000 thing in my head. You know, I understand there's like, you got to have margins and they're obviously like a leader, so they can charge whatever they want. But yeah, it just feels like that kind of stuff should be a lot cheaper. And when that happens, it'll be like solar power, where all of a sudden everybody just has solar power. Like I think it's the same kind of thing where it's there. And in America specifically, it's pretty well known apparently that like solar power is expensive because the salespeople can charge kind of whatever they want for it, but really the technology and the pieces aren't that expensive, which is unfortunate.
But because humanoid bots are going to be non-industrial, well, they will absolutely be industrial, but like there's going to be a non-industrial market for them. I feel like the pricing is going to be more democratic potentially.
It'd be nice if there's some competition on these kind of things, and maybe this is the case for it, right? Where there's, like I was saying, I don't know the market that well, but it's like UR is just seemingly the top, and if there was somebody competing with them, they'd have to someday bring their price down potentially. Maybe I just don't know what I'm talking about, but that's how I always feel. Is like, oh, that's a cool little robot. How much? That's insane.
Yeah. As I said, I've done zero research, so
there's a lot of image generation here.
Sorry. How does this work? Is it going to kick us off? Do we have an hour limit? We probably don't.
So. Getting close. That's cute. So we're coming out with a magazine?
Yeah. Quarterly mag.
Well, all right.
Oh, daddy. Is no, I don't want that. I want this. Yeah, that's all. That's all the things.
The end.
The end.
The script is ended, so I don't know what else to do here.
Next time on... No, I don't know what will be next time.
See you next time.
What happens? Bye. Trademark ding.